When using SMG guns, are you having problems such as your aim getting stuck in the enemy's body or your shots are going over the enemy's head? If you're having such problems, it could be because you might be doing some mistakes. So in today's video, I'm gonna tell you guys 5 such mistakes that players do, and I will also give you guys a solution to each of those mistakes. And another thing that I want to tell you guys is that I'm also gonna be doing a giveaway in this video. So if you guys want to know more information about the giveaway, make sure to watch until the end of this video. So without wasting any more time, first let's start with mistake number 1. When using SMG guns, one of the reasons that your aim might get stuck in the enemy's body could be because of the power of the default aim. Now some of you guys might ask me, what is default aim? Default aim is kind of like an aim assist system that's in the game. For example, if you bring the crosshair near the enemy's body and if you make it red and if you press the fire button, their shot will automatically go and get stuck in the enemy's body. And now to get headshots, what we do is we drag the fire button upwards. The problem that we have with the default aim is that the more closer that you get towards the enemy, the higher the power of the default aim is. And when the default aim is really high, it's a lot harder to get headshots because the aim will most likely try to go towards the enemy's body. And now one of the mistakes that players do is that they have a very low sensitivity, and when you have a very low sensitivity, it's a lot harder to get headshots in short range, especially because of the power of the default aim. The power of the default aim is really high in short range. So one of the solutions that can help you to get headshots in short range is having a high sensitivity. So now I'll tell you guys the best sensitivity for low-end device users and the best sensitivity for high-end device users. First, let's start with the best sensitivity for high-end device users. For high-end device users, I recommend that you keep the general sensitivity in between the range of 90 to 100. Experiment with the sensitivity and see which is the best sensitivity for your device. For example, if 90 is not enough for you, what you can do is you can increase the sensitivity up to 95 or 96 or something like that. You can increase it and see, and if it's too high for you, you can lower it and see that. So that's why I told you guys to experiment with the sensitivity and see which is the best sensitivity for your device. But now for low-end device users, it's a whole different story, because for low-end device users, even though you increase the sensitivity, it can be hard to get headshots. But if you're a low-end device user, I highly recommend that you increase the general sensitivity up to 100. But even though you increase the general sensitivity in some of the low-end devices, sometimes it can be hard to get headshots. So another solution to this problem is increasing the drag space. The drag space is really important, especially when trying to get headshots in short range, because you need to drag a lot in short range. You need to drag fast, and you need to also have a lot of drag space to drag. So now I'll tell you guys 3 of the ways that you can increase the drag space. The first way to increase the drag space is by reducing the size of the fire button. If the fire button is very big, you won't have a lot of drag space. So one of the best ways to get more drag space is by reducing the size of the fire button. Personally, I recommend that you guys keep the fire button size in between the size range of 40 to 60, and the fire button size that I use is 54. And now the second way that can help you to increase the drag space is by bringing the fire button down into the bottom. But when you're bringing the fire button down into the bottom, remember to keep a little bit of space down below the fire button, because it can help you to do different tricks such as the rotation drag and a down up drag. So remember to keep a little bit of space down below the fire button. And now the third way that can help you to increase the drag space is by placing the thumb finger below the fire button. Because for example, let's take my custom HUD. My fire button is placed right here. If I drag from the top of the fire button, I'll have about this much drag space to drag. But if I place my thumb finger down below the fire button right here, I'll have a lot more drag space to drag. Personally, when I'm dragging, I place my thumb finger on the middle of the fire button, but try to experiment and see which one is the best for you, whether it's on the top of the fire button or the middle of the fire button or the bottom of the fire button. So now let's move on to mistake number 2. Now the second mistake that players do when using SMG guns is that they get very close to the enemy. As I said earlier, the default aim is very high in short range. If you get very close to the enemy, it's a lot harder to get headshots. So when using SMG guns, try to maintain a little bit of distance with the enemy. When you're firing from a little bit far away, it's a lot easier to get headshots because the default aim isn't that high from far away. So try to get a little bit far away, not too far away, but a little bit far away when you're using SMG guns. So when you do that, it's a lot easier to get headshots. When you get close to the enemy, as I said earlier, because of the default aim being high, it's a lot harder to get headshots. And now another thing that I want to talk about is the crosshair placement. When you're trying to get headshots using SMGs in short range, if you have to get very close to the enemy, try to use the wide crosshair method. If you're trying to shoot the enemy from far away, it's okay to use either the wide crosshair method or the red crosshair method. But when you are in short range and you are fighting the enemy in short range, try to use the wide crosshair method. But the problem with the wide crosshair method is that sometimes for low-end device users, if you keep the crosshair wide and below the enemy's leg level, sometimes it can be hard to get headshots, because as I said earlier, in low-end devices they have a very low sensitivity, and if you try to place the crosshair wide and below the enemy's leg level, and if you try to get headshots, if you try to drag and get headshots, the bullets might get stuck in the enemy's body. So one of the solutions to this problem is to place the crosshair wide and above the enemy's head level. And once you keep it wide and above the enemy's head level, what you need to do next is to use the down up drag method. Drag the fire button downwards and then quickly drag the fire button upwards. Mistake number 3 is using the wrong drag speed. If you use the wrong drag speed, either your bullets will go over the enemy's head, or else they might get stuck in the enemy's body. For example, if you are firing from a bit far away, if you drag the fire button very fast, the bullets will most likely go over the enemy's head. So when you are a bit far away from the enemy, try to drag in a normal speed, because the default aim is not that high when you are a bit far away from the enemy. But when you're very close to the enemy, the default aim is very high, as I said earlier. So when you're very close to the enemy, instead of dragging slowly, try to drag fast, because if you drag slowly, most likely the bullets will get stuck in the enemy's body. Now before I talk about mistake number 4, let's hop on to one of the parts that you guys like the most, which is the giveaway. So guys, right now in the North American server, there's a faded build event going on called the Essential Turtleneck, and here you guys can see 2 grand prize items. The first one is this new Essential Turtleneck. Here you guys can see the black Essential Turtleneck. It has a new logo on it as well. And the second is this new cool emote called the Mind It emote. Here you guys can see wearing them 24/7 is the trend. So I'm gonna be giving away this Monsoon Noraki Essential Turtleneck and this new emote to 10 lucky winners. So if you guys want to enter the giveaway, make sure to comment down your in-game UID and also comment down your thoughts on these 2 items, and I'll personally be selecting 10 lucky winners from the comment section of this video. So now let's move on to mistake number 4. Mistake number 4 is choosing the wrong gun skin for the gun. If you choose the wrong gun skin for the gun, it can be really hard to get headshots sometimes. So when choosing the gun, it's really important to think about the strengths and the weaknesses of the gun. For example, let's take the MP40 gun. What are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of the MP40 gun? One of the biggest strengths of the MP40 gun is its high fire rate. The MP40 gun has a really high fire rate when compared to a lot of the other guns. And what are the weaknesses of the MP40 gun? One of the biggest weaknesses of the MP40 gun is its accuracy. It has a very low accuracy. And another weakness of the MP40 gun is its damage. So when selecting the gun skin for the MP40 gun, it's really important to think about the strengths and the weaknesses. For example, let's say that we take a double-fired gun skin for the MP40 gun. As I said earlier, the MP40 already has good fire rate, so if we put in a double-fired gun skin for the MP40 gun, it will further increase the fire rate. And when the fire rate further increases, one of the things that could happen is the accuracy of the MP40 gun could go down. And as I said earlier, the MP40 already has low accuracy, so if the accuracy further goes down, one of the things that could happen is the gun could recoil a lot. And if the gun recoils, it can be a lot harder for you guys to get headshots. So that's the reason I told you guys it's really important to think about the strengths and the weaknesses of the gun before choosing the gun skin. So now the weaknesses of the MP40 gun are its accuracy and its damage. So now one of the ways that you can improve the MP40 gun is by choosing either a double accuracy gun skin or a double damage gun skin. But when I say this, some of you guys might ask me, is it okay to use the Evo MP40 because the Evo MP40 has double damage and 1 fire rate? I mean, it's okay to use 1 fire rate because the Evo MP40 already has double damage, which is already improving the gun, so it's okay to use the Evo MP40. But personally, I would recommend you guys to not use a double fire rate gun for the MP40. Now let's move on to mistake number 5. The 5th mistake that you guys might be doing is that you might be continuously firing, and if you continuously fire, one of the things that could happen is that the gun might recoil, and if the gun recoils, as I said earlier, it will be hard for you guys to get headshots. So one of the solutions to this problem is to use the Spitfire technique. Now I have talked about this Spitfire technique a lot on my channel, so if you're a new viewer and if you want to learn about the Spitfire technique and if you also want to learn how to reduce the recoil, make sure to check out this video right here on the screen. And that's it for today's video guys. I'll see you guys later on with another video, and until then, take it easy fam. Peace.